Today I messed up choosing the wrong time to visit my brother. He'd had a panic attack at work. His supervisor called me because I was still listed as his emergency contact, even though we hadn't talked much in the past year. Not because of a fight, just because life gets busy and somehow neither of us ever fixed that distance once it started. I kept meaning to call. I kept telling myself next week, next weekend, once things settled down. They never did. The supervisor said it wasn't serious. My brother was stable. The ER doctor on call, a hospitalist with about 15 years in emergency medicine, had already cleared him medically and was waiting on a psychiatric consult before discharge. She said he was calm, a little embarrassed, and asking for water. I figured I'd go, bring food, be the person he needed me to be for once. I stopped at the deli near the hospital, the one he always ordered from on road trips when we were kids. Turkey sandwich, extra mustard, no tomato. I don't know why I remembered that. I just did. The woman behind the counter asked if I wanted it toasted. I said yes, and immediately thought he always liked it cold and asked her not to. She looked at me like I needed the psychiatric consult more than my brother did. She wasn't wrong. When I walked into the room, my dad was already sitting in the chair next to the bed. I hadn't seen my dad in almost 2 years. Not since the holiday dinner where he showed up with his new girlfriend and introduced her to the whole family like we'd all been patiently waiting for that moment, like it was good news we'd been holding our breath for. My brother had left before the food came out. He didn't say anything. He just put his napkin on the table, pushed his chair back, and walked out the front door. I stayed because I didn't know what else to do, and I'd regretted it ever since. My brother looked at me the second I came through the door. I watched something happen on his face. Not surprise, not relief. It was more like the moment before a car accident, that split second where your brain has already processed what's about to happen, but your body hasn't caught up yet. Everything slows down, and there's nothing you can do about any of it. He said he only called me. My dad said he had a right to be there. His son was in the hospital. My brother said he lost that right 9 years ago when he cleaned out the joint savings account before the divorce papers were even filed. That was the first time I had ever heard that sentence. 9 years, and I had no idea that happened. I stood there holding a paper bag and tried to figure out if I had somehow missed this my entire life, or if it had genuinely been kept from me. My dad didn't say anything right away. He looked at me like I was supposed to fill the silence, like I was a character witness he could call on. I was holding a deli sandwich, and I had absolutely nothing to offer him. My brother wasn't done. He said that the family therapist our mom found during the divorce, a licensed clinical social worker who specialized in high conflict separations, had told him at 14 years old that what our dad did wasn't his fault, that he didn't have to manage our dad's emotions or protect him from the consequences of his own choices, that he was allowed to be angry, that his anger was appropriate and proportionate, and he didn't need to shrink it to make anyone else comfortable. My brother said he'd spent the last 9 years finally believing that. My dad said the therapist didn't have the full picture. My brother laughed. Not a funny laugh. The kind of laugh that means the other person just said exactly what you expected them to say. The hospitalist came back in to check his vitals. She looked at the three of us, took in the full atmosphere of that room, and very professionally pretended everything was completely normal. She typed something into her tablet, told my brother his blood pressure looked better, and said the consult would be up within the hour. Then she left, and I genuinely envied her. My dad stood up. He said he wasn't going to sit there and be attacked. He said he'd only come because he was worried, because that's what fathers do. He said someday we'd understand that things in a marriage are never as simple as they look from the outside, and that he had made mistakes like any person does, and that he hoped we could all get to a place of forgiveness eventually. My brother said he understood things perfectly. My dad looked at me one more time. I looked back at him, and I didn't say anything. He picked up his jacket from the back of the chair and walked out. I stood there for a moment. I set the sandwich down on the chair he had just emptied. I told my brother I loved him. He said he knew. He said he was sorry I had to be in the middle of it. I told him he had nothing to be sorry for. I meant it. I walked out into the hallway and found a spot near the window at the end of the corridor and called my mom. She picked up on the first ring. I asked her if it was true about the savings account. She went quiet for a long moment. Not the kind of quiet where someone is deciding whether to lie. The kind of quiet where someone has been waiting a very long time to stop carrying something alone. She said she'd found out 6 months after the divorce finalized through a financial disclosure that came up in the settlement review. She said she had documentation. She said she had spent 9 years trying to figure out the right moment to tell me, and that she kept deciding I didn't need to carry it, that it was hers to carry, that protecting me from it was the right call. She said she was sorry. I stood there at the window watching the parking lot and didn't say anything for a while. She already knew. She had always known. And she had decided on her own, without asking me, that I didn't need to.